Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. I hope everyone had a good weekend. And on today's show, we're going to be discussing two main things. Number one, Ted Marbury had a Palantir US commercial. He had a bunch of good tweets on Palantir's go-to-market, AIP, bootcamps, why their bootcamp strategy is so innovative in the context of sales for a SaaS company. And number two, we had our good friend Ether Square, big guy in the Palantir community, friend of the channel. I'm sure a lot of people know him, who found a new link on Palantir's portal with ARK Investment Management, aka Cathie Wood's fund. And we're going to use this as a little bit of a thought experiment to talk about what would it look like for Cathie Wood's investment firm, ARK, one of the most popular investment firms in the world, to be using Palantir software, given that she owns about 10 million shares of Palantir. Lot to discuss. Let's get into it. All right, first thing let's do is check out some price action on Palantir and see how that's doing. Palantir is actually having a pretty good day. Palantir is up about 2% right now, $16.69. S&P is up, QQQ is up. You got S&P and QQQ basically at all-time highs. So Palantir maintaining itself, being up 2%. We have 6 days until earnings. So this is the last week before earnings. It'll be very interesting to see where this price action ends up on February 4th, before we have earnings for February 5th. And, where the market kind of wants to price it. Now, I also made this watch list on Webull on the right-hand side of my screen, which is just SaaS companies. You got Adobe, MongoDB, CrowdStrike, Twilio, Intuit, CRM, Snowflake, all the big guys that are in the world of Palantir when it comes to SaaS companies. The only one that's down today is Oracle, down about 1%. Everyone else is pretty much green. So this should give us a high-level overview every day, if Palantir's green or if Palantir's red. Is it a Palantir thing? Is it a sector thing? Is it a market thing? Or is it just every company is kind of feeling down in the dumps or is getting some momentum based on what's happening? And even if it's not every company in the market, maybe it's every company in the SaaS sector indicating that something's going on in SaaS that we need to think about. So in the context of the overall market, Palantir is up, it's green, and nothing too crazy outside of the fact that we're up 2% on the day. So let's get to the big news, which is a tweet that Ether Square, again, friend of the channel, if you're not following him, I'll link him in the description. Absolutely, if you care about Palantir, you need to be following him on Twitter. He has found a link that shows ARK Invest has access to Palantir Foundry /AIP. For the past 2 weeks, the investment management fund led by Cathie Wood has had their own Palantir link and it remains active. It looks like a pilot trial and I can only hope for its success. Now, here's the link right here, arkinvest.palantirfoundry.com. And I'll put that link in the description as well, but that is the link that you can check out that gives you an understanding of this actually being real and, not just being fake. Now, a couple of implications of this just on the link itself, and then I want to talk about how ARK Investments could be using Palantir, because there's another company that PR'd with Palantir, and let's see if you can remember their name before I say what name they are. But it's a company that's not exactly ARK Investment Management. ARK is a much bigger investment firm than them, but they are definitely an investment firm that I think there are some parallels you could draw between them and ARK. These links actually are relevant and are incredibly important. Ether Square has been finding these links for a long time. I actually met Ether in person. He came over to New York back in February of 2022, and we were sitting at a bar, and I was just asking him, about how does he find these links? What does he do? And really, he goes through a complex process, but he goes back and forth, and he ends up just finding these different domain names that work together. And a lot of them have proven to be correct. We knew that United was using Palantir way before, Palantir announced that United was working with them. There's been a variety of commercial deals, particularly in the international space, like Fujitsu. I think Ether Square was able to find that. Hyundai Heavy Industries, Ether Square was looking at that stuff. A lot of these links, not always they've been true, but Panasonic was another one that we found out. They ended up becoming true, because at the end of the day, if you're doing a pilot with Palantir, the link has to work, right? Like, this link should not work if I type in bloomberg.palantirfoundry.com. In fact, let's just do that right here live. Let's do Bloomberg. It's just not going to work, right? It's not going to make any sense. So obviously the link has to work, which means it has to be a real domain name. And if it works and it's real, and it's the same link that all these other companies use to log into Palantir's Foundry software, if you're an external company, then the link is real. The question becomes, can they convert a lot of people off those links? So for example, we saw the Tesla Palantir Foundry link back in August of 2022 working. That ended up not working anymore, right? So maybe it was a pilot and maybe they decided to not use it. I don't know. But for a good month or two, that link was working. So it's a question of how many, clients Palantir can convert. But if ARK's using it, I think it's very exciting, because now we have confirmation ARK is using it. And the question becomes, why would ARK be using it? The reason for that is because of this PR in September. Kaz Investments selected Palantir Technologies for its artificial intelligence platform. I want to read a little bit from this to give you an understanding of what ARK could probably be doing with Palantir. The use of Palantir software aims to help Kaz automatically scale operations and meet growing demand. AIP will offer Kaz executives the next best action system to identify and recommend opportunities or content to improve retention and service to its partners, among other use cases, allowing it to provide differentiated investment services to its partners to embark on a crucial expansion period. Palantir's technology is currently deployed to some of the world's most complex challenges in the government, defense, financial sectors, including banking, asset management. The New York Stock Exchange is another one of those companies that could be using it. This press release was really interesting. So Christopher Zook, the CIO of Kaz Investments, says, the last few years have marked unprecedented growth for Kaz and a dramatic increase in demand for access to curated opportunities. We're excited to partner with the team at Palantir to help ensure that we're able to scale our business. Daniel Wheeler, the head of financial services at Palantir, says, Kaz is embarking remarkably on an ambitious AI transformation that will put exceptional demand on AIP. These are the partners that we are looking for. Palantir will provide Kaz with AI-powered solutions to accelerate partner onboarding and augment investment managers' work with generative AI. The use of Palantir software aims to help Kaz automatically scale operations and meet growing demand. Kaz is a company that's in Texas. Okay, so this is an investment firm. I don't know how big they are. I doubt they're as big as Cathie. Cathie has like $10 to $15 billion assets under management, so they're probably not as big as ARK. They probably don't have as much reach and as much retail influence as obviously Cathie and ARK have. Cathie is just a bigger brand. But nonetheless, they're using Palantir's AIP for a reason. Now, when I did a video on Kaz a while ago, back in September, and the main use cases that I found in my research for a lot of these AI-enabled intersections or enterprise applications for investment firms is honestly coming down to decision-making and risk mitigation. So when it comes to risk mitigation, yes, there's risk mitigation in the context of AIP kind of telling you how to think of your overall strategy when it comes to investing and allocating capital, but it's also decision-making throughout the entire firm and different things you can do, not only to just increase like your gains on the potential investments you have, but to have a multitude of scenarios. So for example, and this might not exactly apply to ARK because they don't really invested heavily in bonds and they don't do wealth management for people that are very old and they're trying to maximize their returns. ARK is a growth oriented investment fund. So if you're investing in ARK, you're investing in a thesis that Cathie would has, that the Coinbases, the Rokus, the Zooms of the world, the Palantirs of the world, these companies are going to perform exceptionally well over the next 5 years. They're going to beat the S&P 500, all that stuff. But Kaz Investments, I would imagine they have high net worth individuals come to them, they have institutions come to them, they have people that want to just have a very simple 5 or 6% year-over-year return, very little risk, or maybe 10%. Don't get into anything crazy. Investing in bonds and money market funds. There's a whole host of diversified asset classes that these investment funds need to understand, and a host of different clientele that they have to work with. Working with an institutional client from ARK's perspective or Kaz's perspective is way different from working with a retail investor that might just be buying your ETF. So there's a variety of different things AIP can do to provide augmented decision-oriented analyses that AI and machine learning can do when it encompasses the entire organization's data. One person on CNBC last week, Josh Brown, someone I actually like in terms of his analysis, he wrote an article. And his article, he was talking about it on CNBC, that investment management is going to meet AI at some level, but the actual investments are not going to still happen by people. So there's going to be robo-advisors, but if you're worth $50 million, you're not going to trust a robot to advise for you. However, that robot, when it has all your data and all your information and is able to look at, you have 40 million here, you have 20 million there, you have 10 million there, you have real estate here, you have bonds here, blah, blah, blah. And it can amalgamate that information and give a reasonable expectation for how that information should be disseminated if you give it, I have a 5-year horizon, I have a 10-year horizon, I have a 2-year horizon of how I want to maximize my gains. There's a lot of value that it can ultimately provide in terms of just having a high-level overview of what you want to do and then maybe making some decisions based on that. Now, most wealthy people, Josh Brown was saying, probably want to talk to an advisor at the end of the day. They don't want, a robot trading for them. But it is a tool that helps augment, using AI and machine learning, someone who is working in the wealth management space. Now, Cathie has a ton of researchers. She's got a ton of people working with clients, talking with clients all day. I mean, I would imagine the research that ARK creates is just it's just piles and piles of data they have to shift through. I think there's a lot of different use cases an investment fund like ARK could be integrating into Palantir, whether it's on the research side, whether it's on the investment side, whether it's on the allocation of capital, whether it's on risk mitigation, and use AIP and a central ontology, which is what Palantir would be creating for them if they are actually going through with this, to make some really strong decisions. And if not make some strong decisions, at least have an understanding of the decisions they could make, have an actual operating system for the investment firm that is ARK, that again has billions of dollars under management, to be able to maximize returns for shareholders. So I think this is very bullish. I think this is exciting. Final thing I'll say on this is that when Cathie had that podcast with Shyam Sankar, I mean, she had that podcast with Shyam for a reason, right? Like she didn't have that podcast to just like mess around for an hour. She's a very busy woman. Shyam's a very busy guy. She bought back into Palantir. I think that podcast makes it more likely for her to ignore some bad quarters if we have some bad quarters coming up, which we'll always have bad quarters, and look at the long-term horizon, understand the government business at a higher level, be less likely to sell the stock if there is a little bit more volatility, and be more likely to buy the dip, which she's done twice now. When we dipped to 1590, she bought the dip. When we dipped to 1480, she bought the dip. 1480 was the JP Morgan downgrade, and 1590 was the Jefferies downgrade. She bought 1 million shares each of those times. And I think, quite frankly, if she says AI is going to be an $80 trillion market opportunity, there's going to have to be some company that is going to be able to manage the LLMs for that $80 trillion of operations. And I think there's no other company better than Palantir. And I think Cathie understands that at a deeper level now, especially given what's happened with AIP. And if she's using the product herself every day and her team, and they like it, it kind of proves the investment thesis. So I think it makes a lot of sense for this to happen. Shout out to Ether Square for finding this link. And now we just got to see if this partnership continues. And as long as this link is working and we can check it every day, they should be using Palantir and AIP. All right, last thing we're going to discuss is Ted Marbury's tweet. He's the global head of commercial at Palantir. And he had some really interesting words he had to say around the bootcamp strategy. In 2023, Palantir pioneered the bootcamp wave. Now everyone is surfing. That's a good thing. Redefining the software procurement process to have more accountability to value and pace serves us all. Come on in, the water is warm. Basically saying the companies that were just selling BS to these clients in order to get them to buy your software without providing value, you can't do that anymore because bootcamps are working, Palantir is working, and like you're going to have to step up your game if you actually want to sell software. I wanted to share a few key takeaways from our first 500 plus iterations of bootcamps to help you understand the wheat from the chaff. Number one, if you aren't hands-on keyboard, it's a magic show, not a bootcamp. Beware the scripted slideware, demos, and canned exercises. AI is very easy to create the illusion of value with, and make sure you can pressure test it yourself. Second, AI use cases empirically have a faster time to production than other data-heavy applications. Beware the proof of concepts to nowhere. Our internal litmus test is if an application is not in production within 4 weeks, escalate. Those first 2 points, just so customer-focused, saying like, look, customers want things that are working. The customer wants to play with the content and with the data and with the product, not just see a demo of you showing how magical the AI is. So those first 2 points are, hey, you really need to work with customers if you're going to do boot camps, not just show stuff off to them. Third, don't stop at chat or RAG. If you don't know what a RAG is as a Palantir investor, you really need to know what a RAG is. It's a crucial component of understanding AIP. And I think I'm going to do a video breakdown, like really trying to have a better understanding of what AIP is, because I've just been doing a lot of research on it. But RAG is retrieval augmented generation. That is one of the processes that a lot of these LLMs use in order to take the data that is they've been trained on and actually give a result to the end user. In this case, the user at a Fortune 500 that would be using Palantir's AIP. Chat is the most popular consumer application. In the enterprise, AI should be a load-bearing component of critical business processes. Demand that the tech does something that matters to your business. Don't settle for adding your data to the consumer application. AI has to serve you, not the other way around. What he's saying here is that AIP is not a chatbot. It's not you just train something and it gives you an answer. AI is a load-bearing component of critical business processes, meaning AI should operationalize workflows, and LLMs, large language models, should become a new form of compute, not just a consumer-facing way in which the end user interacts with the application. That is important, that's relevant, but that's not the end-all, be-all when it comes to AI and how it should be implemented into a business. So, and these boot camps are not just about chatbots. These boot camps are about much more than that. And so I imagine that's where he's going with that when it comes to how do you use AI meaningfully in boot camps for clients. Fourth, try them all. You will quickly learn how to sort out what is real by exposing yourself to several vendors. Transparently, there's no better setup for Palantir than when a customer has attempted to work with other vendors first. That's just him being so bullish, being like, you know what? Like, you guys can use Snowflake, you can use Datadog, you use whoever the hell you want. At the end of the day, we don't care because we know we have the best tech. And that's a company I want to invest on, man. I want to invest in the company that just does not care at the end of the day and that wants to win, because it's easy to win when you know you're the best. And when other people have tried other services and they're not as good and you come to Palantir and it's amazing, well, much more easier to close the deal. This is a screenshot he posted of different quotes that they've collected from people at the boot camps. You see at the bottom there, with Founder, we basically build 10x faster with 3x less resources. Last sentence, what was never possible to do before, just monthly. What was never possible to do, not just monthly, but quarterly, we can now do that every day. I mean, that's insane. This one in the middle, surprised in how much was done in the amount of time. Truly incredible that you all were able to create this kind of output from input, including ingestion, integration, and speed. It has really helped us learn what is possible. In pretty much a day, you guys have done more than we have done with another vendor over 4 months. It's I'll put this tweet in the description, but it's a really, really cool kind of tweet by Ted Marbury, the head of commercial, that's basically saying, look, Palantir's AIP platform is working, the scale is working, the go-to-market is working, and other competitors are really going to have to step their game up if they want to get boot camps out there into the world and make it a real thing. Now, one thing about what he's saying reminds me of a quick story that I told on one of the Palantir deep dives the other day, but I just want to make the point of it here. When I did debate in high school, you had to flip for your sides, affirmative, negative. You have to flip a coin. And in elimination rounds, when you had 3 judges, you have to win at least 2 out of the 3 judges to win the round and continue to go forward. It's kind of like an NCAA bracket. You got octos, quarters, semis, finals. You need to win those rounds in order to keep going. And so in order to determine your side, you have to flip the coin. I had a teammate my junior year when he was a senior. He was much better than me when he was a senior and I was a year younger. And we were at University of California, Berkeley. We were at one of the largest tournaments of the year. This was the last tournament in the regular season before we shifted to the postseason, because in debate, there's like a tournament of champions. It's very nerdy, but like we were in this tournament and his name was Adagoke. This is my guy, one of my best friends, still one of the friends I'm closest to today. He went up to one of the kids we were going up against from Green Hill. Green Hill is a private school in Texas. We came from a public school in Newark, New Jersey. So, we pay $0 for our school. The kids in Green Hill paid almost $30,000 to $50,000 a year for private education at high school. So they always had a sense of like, we're just kind of better than you public school chumps, right? Like that's just kind of the vibe we got from these guys. And so before the octafinal round, Adagoke goes up to one of the guys from Green Hill. And and the guy from Green Hill says, all right, we got an hour before the round. You get to flip before an hour, and then you get to actually do the debate. So you have an hour of prep, you know where your sides are, and then you do the debate. And he said, all right, do you want to flip? And Adagoke said no. And he said, why not? He was like, you can pick whatever side you want. And the kid was like, no, we have to flip. We have to do it. Like, you have heads or tails. What do you want? He was like, no, I don't really care. And so psychologically, the kid's like, what are you talking about? And then Adagoke looks him dead in the face, and he's like, I'm going to beat your ass no matter what side I am. So you can pick. And it was one of the coolest things I witnessed when I was, 17 years old? Because he had a level of confidence that could not be broken. And he won. He beat his ass. He beat his ass on a 3-0 decision. The kid picked, I think the kid picked affirmative, and Adagoke was, or no, he picked negative. Adagoke was affirmative. And Adagoke beat his butt. And it was really cool because that is what I think the AIP bootcamp strategy is. What AIP bootcamps are to me are Ted Marbury and Alex Karp and Shyam Sankar looking at all these software companies saying, you guys can do whatever you want. Our shit is so much better. If we just get it in the hands of people, we're going to win. It's just that simple. We don't need to buy executives a dinner. We don't need to bribe them. We don't need to say we're going to, do some special offer for their family. Like, all we need to do is get their hands on the software. And I think what boot camps are, and the tone of Ted's tweet was, jump in the water. It's wet. He's basically saying, hey, like, this is the new wave of selling software. You have to compete at a level of product, not at a level of fancy restaurants. And it just reminds me of Adagoke all those years ago. This was back in 2015, where he said, I don't care what side you want. I will win on either side. And look, there's a certain advantage of picking a side. Maybe you're better on one side or the other. He said, look, I'll beat you on any side. It does not matter. I'm going to win. And that's the value I see in these Palantir bootcamps, which is that they know they're going to win. They have the best product. They just need to make sure that they get bootcamps to scale. And if they do that, then, I think 2024 can be a good year for Palantir. So exciting stuff. That's it for me. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Daily Palantir. DailyPalantir.substack.com, my free email newsletter. Check it out. Make sure you get that email every single day. And I'll see you guys in the next one.